So here's a close-up look at all the little relay contacts in here. As you can see, most of them look like silver, but there are a few gold ones in here. 4.054 pounds. Well, hello scrappers, Mike here. Welcome back to my channel. So what are we going to do today? Well, today I've got some of the stuff that my friend Johnny from Finland brought me a while back. If you haven't seen that video where I unpacked all the stuff Johnny brought me, I'll put a link to it in the upper right, but he brought me almost literal crap ton of stuff, including a lot of fully gold-plated ceramic ICs, a whole lot of little boards with gold plating on them, some great big chunky relay contacts, which I need to tackle at some point, a whole bunch of RJ45 connectors, a bunch of other stuff. But he also brought me this container right here, which has a whole bunch of little relay contacts in it, mostly silver, but it looks like there's some gold ones in there. There might be a little bit of brass in there. So anyway, I think this is kind of the low-hanging fruit of everything he brought me. This doesn't really need much prep work to get started with. I can just start refining this right away without doing much to it, so or anything really. So let me get it opened up here, and I'll give you a close-up look. Ooh, yeah, some of them have leaked out of the thing. I'll give you a close-up look at what we got here. I'll have to sweep them up off of my bench here because they're kind of going everywhere. So get them all in there. So let me give you a close-up look at what we're dealing with here, and then I'll talk about how we're going to do it. Then I'll get started. So here's a close-up look at all the little relay contacts in here. Johnny spent a lot of time removing these contacts from a lot of little relays. He really gets focused on his scrapping. As you can see, most of them look like silver, but there are a few gold ones in here. They may just be gold plated. I kind of doubt they're solid gold. In fact, it looks like silver on the other side. Now I flip it over. So we've got some gold in here, probably plating. There's another one down there, another couple of them over here. There may be some brass here. There may be some additives to the silver to make it withstand the contact usage better. There's some more gold over there. There may be some cadmium here. There's probably some tin from soldering them on the relay bars. So there's going to be a lot of stuff here besides just silver, although I would say it's 99.9% silver. But so what we're planning on doing is dissolving all this stuff in nitric acid, filtering it. We should catch the gold on the filters because nitric acid's not going to dissolve the gold. And we'll process that separately. But we should result in a pretty good solution of, pretty clean solution of silver nitrate after dissolving all this stuff in nitric acid. Well, then we can get the silver back out of solution, either just by cementing it on copper, which is what I'm leaning to because there's so much of it here, or with the lye and sugar method, which might give us slightly purer silver, although everybody in the comments on my videos tells me that the cementing operation gives me pure enough silver. I shouldn't go to all the trouble of lye and sugar, but we'll see. We'll see. And I need to sweep all the little contacts off my bench that I lost because they were stuck in here, and there's still a few stuck in there. It looks like they're stuck on the tape too. So I'll have to get them out and add them to the mix. Then we can get started. I think I'm going to process this about half of it at a time because there's just so much of it here. Let's weigh it and see how much is here, but there seems like there's an awful lot to process all at once. Okay, I think I've got all the wayward contacts back in here. Let's weigh this and see what we've got here. So we've got, and yes, Richard, I know I'm weighing the container. 4.054 pounds, or 64.87 ounces, or, come on, I know you're there somewhere. 1,840 grams. I don't know if you can read that. 1,840 grams. So not quite 2 kilos of tiny, tiny, tiny relay contacts. Johnny, when you get to scrapping, you get focused. Let me tell you, I don't have the patience for that. All right. So let's see. Let me put about half of them in this big beaker over here, and we'll start processing them. I'm just going to sort of roughly do it. So we get about 900 grams of them in here. I'll be happy. Let's see what we got here. 986, maybe a little more. All right, close enough. We'll call that half. It's not exactly half, but we'll call it half. So I'm going to start processing this. Let me get it in the fume hood, and we'll get some dilute nitric acid on it and start processing. Ooh, that is a heavy beaker. That's going to take a lot of nitric acid. All right. Let me get in the fume hood, and we'll get started. Alrighty, I've got the beaker with half of Johnny's little relay contacts in my homemade fume hood on the hot plate. Hot plate's not on yet. I'm going to put some distilled water on it. I actually have distilled water right now. It's hard to find around here for some reason, but I actually found some real honest and goodness distilled water. So what is that? That's probably a little over a liter of distilled water in there. I don't want to put straight nitric acid on this because the reaction is going to be fierce. So we're going to use dilute nitric acid. I'm going to use the last of my homemade nitric acid here. And I have a video. I'll put a link in the upper right to how I make my nitric acid. But it's a little bit time-consuming process. So I've also bought some acid for this project because I know this is not going to be enough. Let me actually get the fume hood going and shut this side before I do this, because I think we're going to have fumes immediately. Nasty fumes. Oh yeah, look at it go. Look at it go. So I probably put in about half of my remaining acid here, and we'll just wait for that to quit reacting, and then I'll put in some more. I don't want to create a boil over. I mean, you can see everything's cold. The hot plate's not on. How strong the reaction is here. You zoom in a little bit. Yeah, nitric acid and silver. It's a pretty strong reaction. There's also some copper in there and other stuff. So, got a good strong reaction, producing a lot of nasty nitrogen dioxide fumes. People ask me, why do I use the Corningware dishes? The reason I do that is a couple reasons. Number one, I don't want to put my beakers directly on the hot plate burners because the temperature gradient can cause the bottom of the beakers to crack, and then all your stuff goes out all over the inside of your fume hood, all over your burner. You don't want that. But also, not only does it provide a little bit of insulation between the beaker and the burner, but if the beaker should crack, which I've had happen a few times, the liquid will run out into the Corningware dish, and I can collect it, so I don't lose it. Or if there's a boil over, it'll run down the side of the beaker into the Corningware dish. And again, I won't lose it. It won't make a mess in the fume hood. We're working with silver here, which is not super, super valuable. When I'm working with gold, platinum group metals, which are a lot more valuable, you don't want to lose that stuff, okay? Because you're out a lot of money. Okay, we're going to let this react, and when it looks like it's done, we'll put some more nitric on it, and I will probably have to break out my store-bought nitric acid to get all this stuff dissolved, I think. So, just let it go for now. I may turn the heat on a little bit since it doesn't look like it's going to boil over. Let it warm up a little bit. That'll help the process. And be back when it looks like it's ready for some more nitric acid. Alright, it's been a little while. The reaction has really slowed down a lot. So I'm going to put, I think, the rest of my homemade nitric acid in there and go dig out one of the bottles of my store-bought stuff, because I'm sure I'm going to need a lot more. It really looks like I've barely scratched the surface on dissolving that silver in there. There's still a whole lot of it in there. But now we got a good strong reaction going again. Just let it cook again until the reaction pretty much stops. And notice the liquid started turning blue. I definitely got some copper in there. That copper is going into solution. That's okay. We want to separate the copper from the silver. We'll do that in a later step. Okay, just gonna let it cook. Things are going good. All right, it's been a little while longer, and the reaction has pretty much ground to a halt here. I'm still generating a little bit of fumes, but not too much. I think it's time to hit it with some of my store-bought acid right here. I'll put a link in the video description to where I got this acid. It's pretty reasonably priced as nitric acid goes. And there we are. We're off to the races again. In fact, there'll be links to everything I'm using. It's not homemade, anyway, in the video description. If you find yourself having to refine a bunch of silver. And I still see a lot of silver down on the bottom of the beaker, but boy, the liquid is getting very, very dark blue. Maybe more copper in there than I thought and Johnny thought. Some of those contacts may have been silver-plated copper or silver-plated brass. Quite possibly not pure silver. So, but I'm sure a lot of it is silver. So I'm just going to keep going until I get the vast bulk of this silver that's in here dissolved. What I might do is wait until I get like 95% of it dissolved and stop adding acid to it so that we use up all the acid. If there's a little bit of silver left in there, I'll know all the acid's been used up. And then we can decant off this liquid and try and recover the silver from it. And then we'll start the second batch. So that's my plan for now. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, we're cooking again. Just gonna leave it alone. Everything's going good. Alright, I just put some more nitric acid in, and when it went in, the reaction restarted. It stirred up a lot of white stuff off the bottom, okay? So that has me a little bit concerned. We got some gold floating on top, we got gold floating in the liquid, but that white stuff, that white stuff is probably metastatic acid. So I think some of these relay contacts were bronze that were gold plated or silver plated. I don't think they were solid. So I think we got some tin in here from the bronze. So that might cause us a little bit of trouble down the road. We'll see, depending on how much of it there is. There's still a fair amount of silver in there. And I've probably used close to 3/4 of a liter of nitric acid so far. So I'm probably going to have to order even more nitric acid than I have to get almost 2 kilos of silver in solution. So anyway, this will probably be the last edition for today. It's getting late. It's actually after dinner, so I'm just going to let this go and then shut it off before I go to bed and leave it till tomorrow, and then we will pick up here tomorrow. But yeah, that metastatic acid, which I think we're getting in there, is a little bit concerning. So Johnny, I think there's less silver here than we thought there was. I think some of this stuff's bronze. All right, so it's taken a lot of nitric acid, as you can see. So I would say right around a liter so far, maybe a hair more than a liter of nitric acid to dissolve the silver. There's still some sediment in the bottom. As I stir it up, you can see some of that white stuff I was talking about, which I think is probably metastatic acid. There's probably still some silver down there too, but I'm not 100% certain. The last addition of nitric acid I put in there did not produce a big, strong reaction. So I want to make sure we use up all the acid I have put in there. So I've got a few more of Johnny's relay contacts here. I'm going to put them in just to make sure. I see some bubbling. Okay. Yeah, I see some bubbling. So maybe there's still some unused acid in there. That debris on the bottom might not be all silver. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this stuff cool down and sit overnight. It's near the end of the day. And tomorrow, by then, all the acid should be used up from the silver I just put in there. And then we can probably filter this liquid off, put the rest of the relay contacts in there and get them dissolving. Oh yeah, we got some good bubbling going on. So I would say there's probably, yeah, a fair amount of acid left in there. Maybe I'll turn the heat back on a little bit just so we can get all that acid digested. And I'll turn it off before I go to bed tonight. We'll take the liquid off. We'll leave whatever solids are in the bottom because there's going to be some silver now. And we'll hit it all with fresh nitric acid and get the rest of this stuff dissolved. I think I might just have enough nitric acid left because I've got another liter. I bought 2 liters, and I've ordered some more too, but it's going to be a while before it arrives because it's hazardous shipping and all. So, but I think we can probably get the rest of these dissolved because I put a little bit more than half in the first batch. So hopefully we won't need quite as much acid to dissolve the second batch. Okay, so just going to let this go until tomorrow. All right, here's our liquid with the first half of Johnny's silver dissolved in it. Got some gold floating on the surface there too. I hope that's showing up. So yeah, that's some debris in here. There's a nice piece of gold on my stir stick too. All right, so I'm going to try filtering this liquid. I'm going to try just gravity filtering it, and we'll see how it goes. If the gravity filtration doesn't work too good, maybe I'll get out the vacuum filtration setup. Wow, whatever debris this is, it is stuck hard to my stir stick. Okay, I'm going to have to wipe that off. Wipe it onto the filter. So because there's gold trapped in that debris, so we want to keep that. Let's see how this goes. Starting out pretty good. A lot of liquid here. Filter might get plugged before I get it all through. Having second thoughts, thinking maybe I should have set up the vacuum filtration right off, but well, we'll see how it goes. I'm going to leave the bulk of the sediment in the bottom of it and just put the next batch of silver in here and put it back in the fume hood with some more nitric acid. I certainly hope I have enough nitric acid to dissolve the rest of that silver, because I got a feeling it's going to be a while before my new shipment of it arrives. It's coming through nice and clean. That's good. That's what I want to see. All right, so it's going to take me a while to filter all this. I'll be back when it's done or something interesting happens. All right, I've got maybe 200 milliliters through. I don't know if you can see all the gold in that filter though. Wow. But this is just too slow. We're going to do the vacuum filtration. I've got it set up here. I'll just let that drip, but we're going to do vacuum filtration. Yep, I need to get this done before I'm headed for the old folks' home. So I was afraid this is the way it was going to be. I should just set it up to start with this much liquid. Alright, so still got a fair amount of silver in the bottom of this, but I did put some more in to make sure used up all the nitric acid. There's some seriously shiny stuff in there. I don't know what that is. I mean, I know silver's shiny, but some of this stuff's a lot shinier than the other stuff. Some of this is not like the others. A couple of different things in there. Alright, so yeah, that looks pretty clean. Let the rest of that come through. I'll get this back in the fume hood. I'll put the rest of Johnny's silver in it, and we'll get some fresh nitric acid on it and get it cooking again. And I've had an idea. I was going to do 2 halves of this. Once this was done filtering, I was going to start cementing out the silver, but I think I'm going to wait. I think I'll put all the liquid in a small bucket and add copper to it and cement the silver out that way. Once I've got it, all the silver dissolved and all the liquid filtered. I think that's what I'll do. I'll have to do things twice that way. Okay, let's get started on this. Alright, so here's the rest of Johnny's silver. Going in. About another 900 grams of it. Not quite a kilo. And some more distilled water. Okay, some of you are probably asking why I am adding distilled water to this rather than just putting the nitric acid straight on it. Well, there's a couple reasons. If I put straight nitric acid on that silver, the reaction is going to be extremely vigorous to the point where it might boil over right out of the beaker, which I don't want to happen, okay? Also, we need a little liquid for the nitrate salts to dissolve into. Otherwise, the reaction is going to slow down to nothing. So we need some actual water there. So what I put in, about 800 milliliters. That's actually a little light on water. I might have to put some more in later as I add acid to it. Of course, the reaction is going to produce some water. So, and of course, the acid's only 68% acid, so there's some water in here too. All right, let me get the fume hood going. And we'll put some acid on it. Oh yeah, look at that. We are off to the races. Alright, put a little bit of heat to it too, not too much. I don't want to boil the acid off. I want it to do its thing in there. Alright, let that dissolve. Let this continue filtering. Looks like it's about done. I'll wash the silver out of the filters with some distilled water so we get all of it down in the beakers. So, look at the gold in the bottom of this filter. And there's some stuck to my stir stick too. There's actually more gold than that. There's some hidden under the crud there. And we got some over here in this filter too. So yeah, some of those relay contacts definitely gold plated. So we're gonna get not a huge amount of gold, but a little bit. Every little bit helps, right, Johnny? Yeah. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to combine these two liquids and set them aside for now until I have the second half done. Then we'll combine them and cement all the silver out at once. Okay, so after filtering, I've got the solution in this gallon jug here, Johnny's silver nitrate. I've also got the filters I use. I'm setting them aside. And when this stuff here is done, which it's got a long way to go, but when it's done, I'll do the same thing. I will filter it, add it to this jug, and keep the filters. Alright, and then once we've got it all in this jug, then it'll be time to get the silver back. Like I said, though, we got a long way to go. I haven't even quite used up all of this first container of nitric acid, and I'm sure it's going to take at least another whole liter probably to get this stuff into solution. You can see how much silver's still down there. So we've only just begun, as the carpenters would say. So let me keep cooking this and get it all into solution. Alright, second batch is done. At least when I put the last shot of nitric acid in it, nothing much happened. So that leads me to believe the silver and anything else that the nitric acid will dissolve is dissolved. But we still have a lot of solids on the bottom of the beaker. So why is that? Well, there's a few possibilities here. We may have created something like metastatic acid, which I'm sure there's some in there, which is insoluble. Also, those relay contacts, they may not all have been silver. There might have been some stainless steel ones. There might have been some platinum ones, possibly. So that might be what's on the bottom of the beaker. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to again pour the liquid off, and we're not fooling around this time. We're just going straight to vacuum filtration. So we're going to pour the liquid off through the filter. We're going to capture the gold that's floating. I'm going to wash the solids on the bottom and try to get them into the filter as well, except for anything that looks metallic. And then we'll take a close-up look at that stuff. Maybe I'll put it in a smaller beaker and try treating it again, maybe with some concentrated nitric acid, and we'll see what happens. But, yeah, we got some gunk left down there. I'm not sure what it is. Okay, let me get to filtering this stuff so that we can move on. Yep, there's all that floating gold again, and I'm sure there's more of it down on the bottom. So we'll capture that during filtration. Okay, the liquid's coming through nicely. I don't know how well it's showing up. There are some very shiny things down in there. I mean, there's all this crud too, which I don't know what it is, but there are some very shiny things down there. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer this to a smaller beaker. You can see some gold down there too. Transfer this to a smaller beaker, swish around some distilled water with it for a bit, and then try and pour off as much of this crud as I can, and see if I can just be left with whatever metal's left in here. And we'll see what happens if I put some more nitric acid on the metal. Ooh-wee, look at that. I think we got more gold than the first time around. Actually, maybe not. Because when I washed the silver nitrate out of the filter, a lot of the gold got buried under the crud, just like it's happening now. So yeah, I think between the two sets of filters, I think we've got a lot of gold here. So that's great. Bonus! Well, this is kind of interesting. So I've washed most of the gray goo out of there, but a lot of that gray stuff is contacts that have just turned gray but haven't dissolved. Gray-brown. There's some gold in there too. There's some really silvery contacts in there. So I'm not exactly sure what we're dealing with here. Good question. I'm going to get this back in the fume hood and put some concentrated nitric acid on it, and we'll see what happens. Okay, there's still a little bit of water in there, but we're going to put some straight nitric acid in here. Oh yeah, look at that. Okay. Maybe those contacts were just buried too deeply underneath all that other goo. Uh-oh. It's gonna boil over? I don't even have the heat on. Nah, I guess it's not gonna boil over. Okay. Yeah, maybe those contacts were just buried too deep under the goo there. The gray goo, which I think is metastatic acid, to get in good contact with the nitric acid. I'm still seeing some really shiny metal in there, which leads me to believe maybe it's something other than silver. But it looks like we got a decent reaction going right now. Yeah. Kind of the reaction from hell right now. Okay, so maybe I'll continue processing these in this smaller beaker until it looks like I've got them pretty much in solution. And then we'll add that to what's going on over here. And I need to clean out that big beaker. It's got a bathtub ring of scum around it there, with a lot of gold embedded in it. And there's a lot of gold embedded in the scum stuck on my stir stick too. So I need to clean those and save the paper towel I use, because I'm going to keep all the gold together along with what's in the filter up there in the funnel, because we're getting a fair amount of gold as well as a whole lot of silver. Alright, so there we go. So far, got almost a gallon of Johnny's silver in this silver nitrate jug here. Tell you what, that is a heavy jug too. Not only does water weigh 8 pounds to the gallon, it's got 4 pounds of silver in it. And who knows how much copper. That's really heavy. That is a heavy, dense liquid. Alright, so once I get the last of these contacts dissolved, we'll see if there's enough room left in the jug over here. Get the rest of that liquid in, otherwise I'll put it in a different container until I am ready to recover the silver. I think we need to do a couple of other things first. I'll talk about that in a bit, but let's see if we can get this as much of this dissolved as we can, and see what remains when no more will dissolve. That will be interesting. Alright, I'm still trying to dissolve the last little bit of metal in the fume hood over there. Now there's another little issue with these relay contacts. It's kind of been at the back of my mind, nagging at me a little bit. I need to check and see if there's any palladium in this stuff. They might have added a little palladium to the silver to harden the relay contacts, make them wear better. So I got to see if this stuff is contaminated with palladium, because that'll be an extra step in purification before we get to the silver, which I'm hoping it's not. I'm going to check this stuff, and I'm going to check the stuff that's still in being dissolved in the fume hood, because I'm figuring if there's contacts with large quantities of PGMs in them, they're probably going to be the last ones to dissolve. But let's test this stuff first. See if we've got any trace of palladium in it. Any detectable trace of palladium, I should say. Let me zoom in here a little bit. I've got some very fresh stannous chloride solution over here. I just made it. Oh, wow. Okay, I don't see any trace of palladium, but wow, that is a lot of silver chloride. It just turned into pudding in there. I don't know if that's showing up. It just turned into white pudding. So yeah, there's a lot of silver nitrate there, which just became silver chloride when I put the stannous chloride on it. But I really don't see any real trace of palladium. Let me get a little bit from the beaker in the fume hood, and we'll test it too. A little bit here. This has got some, whoops, yeah, making a mess. That's got some sediment in it of some sort. But let's put a little of this on it, see how it looks. Again, it just turns into a pudding of silver chloride. Now, it was green going in originally, so I don't really see any more green or orange, the colors of palladium, anything additional. So I think we're good. I don't think we have to worry about a lot of palladium contaminating this silver and having to do an additional purification step. If there was a lot of palladium in it, I'd probably add some DMG to it and try to precipitate the palladium out, and then filter it again, and then drop the silver out of it. But I think we're good. I think we're good to go. Once I get the rest of that stuff in there dissolved, we'll combine it all together and drop some silver out of solution. So, just what sort of monstrosity have I created here? Look at the color. It's gone brown. Okay, well, let's look at the evidence. We had stuff that did not dissolve in dilute nitric acid, okay? So I started dissolving it in concentrated nitric acid. Now, a lot of it, I'm sure, was silver. No doubt about that. We saw the silver chloride pudding form when I did the stannous chloride test. Now, the color became green to start with, and now it's turned brown. So what does that tell us? Well, I think the green color was from nickel. I think that was nickel going into solution with the concentrated nitric acid. And then once I started boiling it, it really went into solution. And in fact, I think we've got iron in solution too. And the nitric acid has oxidized the iron and turned it brown. So what this tells me is some of those contacts were stainless steel. Or maybe there was still stainless steel backing material there. One or the other. This is still a little warm. Needs to cool off a little bit more. And then I can pour this liquid off, filter it, and we'll see what's left in the bottom of the beaker. If there's any shiny stuff left in there, it's almost certainly platinum, or one of the other platinum group metals. But we'll see. There may not be anything left. Okay, let's get this nasty stuff filtered. You know what? Before I filter it, I'm going to add a little distilled water to it, just to get anything that'll crash out of solution to do so I can filter it out. Alright, so there we go. Doesn't look like we're getting any precipitate. So we're probably going to have some iron and some nickel here, like I said, but I don't think that's going to be a problem for us. They should stay in solution. They're more reactive than the copper I am going to use to cement out the silver. Oh yeah, I'd say we've definitely got some iron here from the color. I'm asking myself, do I want to mix this with that? I don't know. Well, we still have a lot of stuff in the bottom of the beaker, and some of it is very, very shiny. Huh. Yeah, some of it's very shiny. Clean it up a little bit. And clearly there's some gold there, which we're going to catch on this filter. But there's a lot of very, very, very shiny stuff in here. It's not shining like gold. So it's either some very tough stainless steel, or maybe, just maybe, we got some platinum group metals here. Not palladium, but maybe platinum or other stuff, iridium, other things. Wow, we're getting a lot of gold in this filter too. I'll have to show you that. Huh. Yeah, there's still a lot of stuff in this beaker. I'm tempted to try dissolving more of it in nitric acid again, because some of it still has the dull color of like pitted silver, but there's an awful lot of shiny stuff in there. I don't know, I'll think about it. Let me give you a look at what's going on in the filter. Yep, more gold. There's one of the little contacts that didn't dissolve. Came over. More gold. See all that shiny stuff in there? Come on, focus on it. There we go. I mean, clearly there's gold there. Yeah, I can see that, but some of that stuff is not gold. I'd say most of that stuff is not gold. Not sure what it is. Okay, so I've had a little think about this as I've been washing the liquid out of this filter here. I think I'm going to try hitting this with some more nitric acid to see if any more of this dull colored stuff in here will dissolve. The duller colored stuff might be stainless steel now. I don't know, it might not be silver. And then the shiny stuff that's not gold, that's almost certainly either got to be a platinum group metal or some sort of really resistant kind of stainless steel. As for this stuff, I'm going to let it sit. It's getting late in the day. The weather's coming in. I'm going to have to shut down my outdoor lab here pretty soon because it's going to storm. I'm going to let it sit. If we don't develop a really bad precipitate in it, and maybe even better if we do develop a precipitate, because then I can filter it out, I'll add it to this. Yeah, if a precipitate does form, I'll filter it out, then add it to that. Because I'm worried we might get a precipitate out of that. So, anyway, I think I'm done for today. It's been a productive day. But, yeah, I need to start closing up shop here. The thunder's getting loud. So, alright, so we'll pick up here tomorrow. Subscribe to see the second half of the silver recovery from Johnny's thousands of tiny little relay contacts. I think you'll find it interesting. And also, at some point, we've got to get the gold out of those contacts. So I think there's going to be a couple more videos in this series. So subscribe to see those videos. If you found this video at all interesting, educational, informative, inspirational, whatever, give it a like, give it a thumbs up. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks a lot for watching this one. Bye.